Hello guys. Oops, let's zoom that out a bit. Hello, thank you so much for joining us for another week of Fashion Bytes chat. We are here to speak with the lovely fashion psychologist, Shakaila Forbes-Bell. I'm just trying to pin my comment, if it will allow me to. I'm Hillary, the founder of the Fashion Bytes platform. We're here to support and nurture creative entrepreneurs, filling in the gap between education and what happens in real life. This is our way to connect, collaborate, and share. We really hope that the information that we provide is practical and useful. And Shakaila is here, so let's get her on. Just waiting for her to come on. We've been doing our lives for a little while now, since June. So if you have a few minutes, please catch up on IGTV. Hello.
Hi, Hillary. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been a big fan of Fashion Bytes for a long time. I remember going to one of your talks not too long ago with Ade from Nubian Skin. Yeah, I just really love what you guys are doing. So it's a pleasure to be on this Insta Live with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before we dive into the questions, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as Hillary said, yeah, my name is Shakaila Forbes-Bell. I'm a fashion psychologist. So I studied fashion psychology for my master's degree at the London College of Fashion. So it was one of the first iterations on the course, and it was just really expansive, and it was a continuation on my research that I did in my undergraduate thesis, which was exploring the intersection between race, clothing, and impression formation. So that's something that's always been very core to me in my beliefs. I did that research off the back of the Trayvon Martin murder, actually, and a lot of the commentary was about his hoodie and how his hoodie made him appear a certain way. And then you look at different media and how Black people and ethnic minorities are portrayed and their styles of dress, and how that does impact impression formation. And then you look at that alongside the boom of the sportswear industry and how certain styles have been co-opted. And then there's movements like getting to be proven fashionable. So I really wanted to explore that kind of intersection on a really deeper level. So that's kind of where my research took me in my master's degree. And then throughout my studies, I just realized that fashion psychology is so expansive. There's so much to learn, and really people don't know much about it. So I just had all of this research and I wanted to get it out there. So I started my blog. If anyone has seen the first version of my blog, it was so terrible. It was completely like
you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I just had to start somewhere. I just put like all of the research out, and it got such a good response. Like I just saw like my views like go up like almost like overnight. And I've never been someone that's been very savvy on social media. Like I just put all of my effort into the blog, and luckily like it's really resonated with a lot of people, and I've kind of turned that into different opportunities. So I've like done collaborations with brands like Next, with Sainsbury's too. I'm also the consumer retail expert for AfterPay and ClearPay. And then on my full time, I'm a marketing manager at an influencer marketing company. And then of course, alongside running the blog and doing press and writing about various aspects to do with fashion psychology. So
oh wow, so you have spare time. Clearly not busy at all.
Honestly, this other weekend I was telling my friend, like every time, I think this is a millennial thing as well, or maybe in our current times, every time you have a weekend and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna like take this time for myself, you just end up finding something to do, and then you always say, okay, next weekend I'll rest, and you never do it. But I'm realizing the importance of saying no and saying yes to everything. It gets you a certain it gets you to a certain level, but then you'll find out that you're just broken and you're burnt out, and then you can't do anything when you're in that position. So I think whilst it's important to obviously strive for your goals and like grab every opportunity as possible, you have to take time for yourself, practice your mindfulness. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do as well. I'm trying to take my own advice.
Okay, excellent. Now, if we could start a little bit from the beginning and define fashion psychology, because it's still quite new.
It is. So I remember when I first said, oh, I'm going to become a fashion psychologist, and some of my family members were like, what is that? Like, are you just going to like tell people like therapy for clothes? And then I was like, no, that's not it. And when I tell people what it actually is, yeah, they're really interested. So fashion psychology essentially is the application of psychological practices and theories to various aspects of the fashion industry. So of course, the fashion industry is completely expansive. It's not just about, seeing pretty models on the catwalk and then you buying, you seeing it on maybe online and then buying it. It's not that straightforward. Of course, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of relationship building between customers, between brands, visuals, how that makes you feel, what encourages things like brand loyalty, what encourages you to buy one thing and not buy another, how certain things make you feel when wearing it, the perceptions you give off when wearing certain things, how you cultivate your identity through style, how different brands try to connect with you through their imagery and through their media. So it's really pretty expansive. The area that I looked into more specifically in my degree and with my research has been about consumer behavior. So how do consumers respond to different media types? How are they encouraged to shop, and how different buying patterns change depending on your cultural background, on your income. There's so many things that impact what you shop and what you buy and the brands that you align yourself to. I think a lot of people think that they just maybe purchase clothes because of access or because of something they're seeing, but there is a lot of things at play. With any decision you make, there is a lot of other factors at play. And the same is true with fashion. It's not a vapid industry. My blog is titled after a famous Stella McCartney quote, "Fashion is psychology," because when you really think about it, everything is psychology. There's psychological elements to absolutely everything that we engage in our day-to-day lives.
Right. So following on from that, because you mentioned businesses already, what are some tips and how would you use psychology in your PR and marketing? Yeah, without giving away too much of your secrets, but yeah.
I think generally speaking, you have to know about like your target consumer. I think a lot of times brands look at consumers as almost like a monolith, but especially now that we're spending more time online, more at home, consumers are really wanting that personalized connection. They want to have more of an experience from their brands. So I think the best thing brands can do now is really work with technology to kind of strengthen that connection that they have with their consumers. For example, my research was about how consumers change their buying habits depending on the type of models that are showcasing the clothes or beauty products that they want to buy. So that was off the back of that whole period in fashion where it was believed that black models don't sell. And there was that huge controversy over Vogue. So I wanted to prove empirically that when black consumers do see black models or models that look like them or reflect their standards of beauty, then they're more likely to buy into a product and buy into that brand. And that is what my research found. And I think that some brands are starting to realize that inclusivity is not just like a nice to have. It's something that makes your consumers feel good and feel wanted and connected to your brand. And that is so important in this current climate when it's very competitive. There are new emerging brands coming up every single day. So you need to find ways to connect to them on a deeper level. One brand that I think is doing that really well is ASOS. So they've introduced like different types of models wearing like the same clothing. So you can see maybe from a model like an 8 up to like 16 or 20 or plus wearing the same type of clothing. So you can you can envision yourself in it. Other brands, many other brands are like really stepping up in terms of inclusivity and model casting. So models of different, not just races, but different all weights, of different ages, different disabilities. I'm someone who has an invisible illness as well. I suffer from Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a chronic pain condition. So even having that like recognized in terms of messaging, or having brands be aware that, you know, not just about the look of a garment, but how it makes you feel, the level of comfort, like different things like that, that increased level of knowledge that can help make consumers, help them make more informed decisions, and make them know that this is something that's not just good for like the masses, it's something that's right for me and something that I can connect with on a deeper level.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Now, you also work within the beauty space?
So
Is that correct?
I have done some things in terms of the beauty space. So yeah, so over on the blog, we did like a big series about the psychology of fragrance, and I think that was really amazing. So we got to talk to some like psychology of scent like experts and different fragrance houses, and talk about the connection between scents and feelings and emotions. So we did a really good like investigative piece and talked about how scents actually tap into a certain part of the brain that can trigger memories, and it can help you like engage in nostalgia. It can change your mood. So yeah, that's really interesting. So yeah, we are doing a bit of research within the beauty space as well, but I'd love to do a bit more. We did another series about hair as well. So I spoke to celebrity hairstylist Vernon Francois, who has amazing hair care collection, and he was just talking about research which shows that hair can be like incredibly transformative. A lot of times people have, when they have bad hair days, they actually feel like it affects them like mentally, like sometimes even physically. And it just goes to show the distinct relationship between feelings, emotions, and aesthetics. It's actually all tied up in together, and how when people are going through certain like periods in their lives, they can feel like that sense of control that they gain from changing their style or changing their hair or changing their beauty routine, that can really impact the way they feel and the way they go about their days. So it is really, it's not just skin deep, it really, our skin, our hair, our style, our beauty, it does have an impact on the way we go about our lives.
Right, right. And within that research area, you also did body positivity and talked about social media as well, which I think is amazing.
Yeah, we have
Tell us more about them.
Yeah, we have some amazing writers that are doing some research into body positivity. I think the movement started off with great intentions, but then I think it got co-opted a bit, and then it just got too like over branded and saturated. And I think what we're trying to do is like bring it back to its core and look at what the research is saying. And a lot of the times as well, we're talking about seeing positive reflections, right? So not just seeing like the typical waif Caucasian stick thin model, right? We're talking about different types of representation and how that does impact the way consumers feel. If consumers feel good when seeing an image of a model that maybe looks like them and they can see themselves in the garment, then they're going to want to feel connected to that piece. They're going to want to buy into it, and they're going to want to feel better about themselves. I think one of the greatest things about clothing and style and imagery is that it has the power to make you feel good. And I think that's what we're moving on to, especially in the current climate. Before, maybe when we purchase clothes or when we purchase beauty products, it was a very like event based. So I'm going out to this specific place and I want to look like that. But all of the spaces have closed down now, and we just have to sit in our houses wearing these things. So it's moved on from like, how do I look, more to how do I feel? And I think that does translate a lot into the body positivity movement. And I think fashion brands can really do a lot to speak to people who started this movement, listen to their wants, listen to their needs. How can they speak to them to get a deeper understanding into what these consumers want, what they want to see, the types of fabrics they want that works best with them. Because, you know, although one size fits all does sound good in theory, it makes us think that, okay, we're all in this together, we're not different. We are different, and we should celebrate those differences, and brands should celebrate those differences too, and realize that their consumer base is getting more and more diverse every day.
Yes, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Let's go back to your particular path or niche,
Yeah.
because you have the intersection between fashion, representation, media, and marketing.
Mhm.
How do you work that out? How did you combine those specific areas?
Yeah. Well, I think when I graduated the course, I think when all of us graduated the course, we were just like, okay, what do we do now? Because fashion psychology, like, it's so niche. Like, I remember going to a careers day and like telling a couple of people, yeah, this is my master's, and they're like, okay, well, what can you do? And that really pressured me to realize, okay, I can't stay in academia forever. I need to find some sort of practical application for this degree. And of course, like I mentioned, I felt like what my research lent itself a lot to was media, was marketing, was that consumer behavior. And I think a lot of consumer behavior and marketing involves a psychological aspect. So I really went headfirst into that route. Any internship I can find within marketing, I just grabbed onto it. I got a lot of experience, which was great. But the thing that really helped me is that I was madly Googling like fashion psychologists to see if there was anybody else that was doing this random crazy career path, to see if I can get some sort of idea where it could lead me. And then I managed to find Kate Nightingale, who's an amazing style psychologist. She's doing some great things with brands in the retail and visual merchandising space. And yeah, and then I spoke to her, and I did an internship with her, and I was there for maybe like a year and a half, and it was so interesting. It really made me see the practical application of my degree, how you can approach brands, and just getting them to understand why they need that psychological insight. Because I'm sure you're aware, with a lot of fashion brands, they can be quite stuck in their ways in terms of what they think is necessary, what they think is fashionable. So a lot of my work, I think, so far has really been like convincing people. And then when you do, they realize like, oh, of course, like, yes, of course we need this insight will be incredibly valuable, and so on and so forth. So I just use all of that experience to really hone my personal branding on my blog. And yeah, just, I guess, saying yes to like loads of opportunities, saying yes, like giving lots of press, like interviews, like research, doing my own research, writing constantly. So that's how I was able to marry like the marketing side and then my like side, like fashion psychology side, and just, yeah, and have these amazing partnerships which I'm really grateful to have now.
Okay, excellent. Now, speaking of the marketing and the consumer, how do you think we can bring that together and move the sustainability conversation on? How can that help with that movement?
I think a lot of the times with the sustainability movement, I think a lot of like brands, a lot of people, they look at it almost like as a way to chastise consumers, like, don't buy from this brand, or like, don't buy this, and it's just more of a telling off. And I think sometimes that can put a lot of people off, or make them feel like, okay, well, where do I go? I can buy these brands, but some of the times you're just stuck in a habit. Habits are really hard to break out of. Anybody that has tried a diet or tried to get into a new exercise regime will know that it's something that is really hard to change. So I think the same is true when people are really trying to become more sustainable. I think one thing brands need to do is recognize that it's going to be like quite hard for people to do that. So instead of like maybe chastising them or talking about solely talking about like everyone's environmental or carbon footprint, it needs to be framed so that it's in a more positive light and giving them like clear steps into how they can change their behavior. So for example, instead of just completely maybe cutting off fast fashion brands, look at having a better relationship with your clothes and a better understanding of your personal style. So you're not going to a brand and buying every single season. You're actually looking at specific pieces that you like and you cherish. And every time you open your wardrobe and you see them, you have that connection with it. So you're least likely to throw it away and buy something new. I think clothes wastage is one of like the major issues within sustainability movement right now, and I think one way we can battle that is with psychology and looking into attachments with clothing. How can we help people develop a better understanding of their style, develop a better attachment to their clothing? How can we encourage them to mend and understand how to take care of their clothes more? I don't think there's a lot of understanding about taking care of your actual clothes. I think that's been something that's incredibly important for me. I still shop at fast fashion brands. I still shop at Primark and the likes. But for example, I've had a pair of Primark trainers that have lasted me a good 3 years, you know, because I try to take care of them. So I'm not continually throwing and buying and throwing and buying. So I think getting consumers to develop a more positive relationship with the clothes that they have and with the clothes that they intend to buy, so that they're keeping it for a longer time. And then maybe they can start to look into invest in more sustainable brands, but they're not really thinking that they have to chuck everything out and start over again. It's more about nurturing that connection that they have with their style and with their clothes.
Excellent, excellent. Now, now that we're in lockdown 2.0, would you agree that while we're all working from home, it's increasingly important for us to delineate between work and personal life, because it can all merge together? And what kind of tips do you have with regards to separation and the mental health self-care aspect of that?
I think that's incredibly like an important point. I remember being on Twitter one time and reading someone saying that we don't work from home now, we live at work. And I just think that is so true. I think it's really hard right now to switch off, and that is going to have a negative impact on people's mental health. Over on the blog, we did a big piece where we talked to like six different fashion professionals about how they're managing this new routine and new schedule. And a lot of times people think it might be this massive thing that they have to do and like huge changes, but I think oftentimes it's very simple changes that we can make to make sure that we're keeping our mental health positive and in check. So when I was doing the psychology of fragrance part, and I was speaking to the people at AfterPay, one of our people on the team, she was talking about candles and how she likes different scented candles for different parts of the day. So when she's working, she likes a certain candle that has like fragrance or like citrus fragrance, or might make scents that make you feel more alert and upbeat. And then when she's switched off, she likes a different candle for a different type of fragrance that make you feel like calmer and more soothing. So like the jasmines and like the chamomile, things like that. So I thought that was like an incredibly easy and like simple informative trick, so I'm going to implement that now. Another thing is about your space as well. I'm doing some research about wardrobe ethnography, so how the clothes you wear, your wardrobe, is just such an important part in your household, and how like overconsumption can really have a negative impact on your mind, and how like clutter in your like wardrobe space and in your personal space, how that can actually reflect into like a clutter in like your way of thinking. So it's just talking about the psychological benefits of having like a minimal space and not so many things and stuff crowding it. So that's something you can do, like revamp your space, think about the environment you're working in, how that's having an impact on your mental health. And of course, my number one thing is mindfulness as well. When we are living at work, it tends to be like on the go, like constantly doing something. But it's so important to just take a time to check in with yourself. Don't worry about the past. Don't think too much about the present. Just stay in the here and now. There's so many amazing mindfulness apps that are available to us on our phone that we can just check in with every day, and just like 10 minutes a day, just practice like staying still. I try to do that a lot, and that has really helped me, really helped me focus. Or even like taking a 10-second like deep breath. That's really good. I think it's about these little things that we can do every day to implement that into our daily lives that can really make a massive change.
Yes, excellent, great. Now, along your journey, did you have one or two mentors?
Yes, so yes, I've had two amazing mentors. So like I mentioned, Kate Nightingale. Yeah, I can't sing Kate's praises enough. I think when people think about mentors, they just think about people who can just guide them or give them advice. But a mentor is someone that should also guide you into opportunities. So through working with Kate, like we've been able to she's been able to guide me towards like a lot of different opportunities that have come my way. So I've been really thankful for her for that. The same with Dr. Aurore Bardi, who used to work at London College of Fashion. I think she's going back to France actually soon, so we're losing her, but she's like amazing fashion psychologist, and she's also like put me in touch with different people, like put a lot of different opportunities through my way through London College of Fashion and her relationship with them. So I think when people are looking at mentors, they need to look at people who are in a position to also provide advice, but to also provide like that physical support, in terms of like putting you in touch with the right people and opening doors for you as well. So I get a lot of DMs and emails from students asking for help. So I always try to pay it forward, and if I have some opportunities that I think will be available, for example, for my blog, I'm always accepting submissions from students if they want to showcase their work or refine their writing or know how to pitch to certain brands or press. I always like try to give as much advice and support as I can, because I do want fashion psychology as a whole to become legitimized and to become more expansive and recognized. And we can't do that if it's a one-woman crusade. It needs to be like more people like within the industry, like doing the knowledge, getting the research, getting the jobs. So yeah, I'm trying to really like get as much involved in this network as possible.
Okay. And what other advice would you give to a young person looking to come into your field and try to maybe convince their parents that it's okay?
For me, I was so lucky. My parents were like really just like so supportive. I was so shocked that they were actually, because it sounds on the surface, it's like, what are you going to do with that? How are you going to make money? They were really supportive of me. But yeah, some like external family members were a bit like dubious, but I think a lot of the times you just have to put in the work with anything. If you put in the work continuously, you will see results. And that's what I did. Like with my blog, I just kept pushing and pushing, even when it looked a complete mess. I just kept going and refining and tweaking and doing more research. And then slowly but surely, I started to get recognized. I started to get opportunities come my way. So realize that if you are going to go into this niche area, you're going to have to put in a lot of work, like say yes a lot of time. And the other piece of advice I would give to anyone trying to get into fashion psychology is to be very specific about the area of fashion that you want to get into. So like I said at the top of the live, fashion is completely expensive. It's so many layers to go into it. There's buying, there's designing, there's PR, there's marketing. Like there's so many aspects of it, and psychology does fit into every aspect of it. So for me, it was consumer behavior. It was marketing. For someone else, it could be visual merchandising, looking at how certain lighting or certain sounds or certain displays affect consumer behavior. For other people, it could be like particularly about media. So how specific graphics and specific models or looks, how they impact your relationship with your consumers, how that taps into it. Or it can be like customer relationship management. So the specific number of like emails or the words or things that kind of resonate with different types of consumers. And so there's like so many different aspects that you can go into, and it's easy to get lost. So it's really about finding out what you find interesting and what you can specialize in, and then just going full force with that.
Yes, excellent. And lastly, what is next for you?
What is next for me? So yeah, I have a few projects in the pipeline. I think for now, I'm just going to continue with my consultancy services. So yeah, so right now I'm the in-house consumer retail expert for AfterPay and ClearPay. So I've done a lot of work with them, and yeah, just put together the why behind the what behind of all of their like amazing data that they have. So I'm working with them. I'm looking to expand my consultancy services as well. So I've had some interest from other brands about working with them to really like develop their branding and their messaging and how to really resonate with consumers on that more personal level. So I'm continuing to doing that. The blog is getting much bigger. We have like new members of the team coming to help us with like more writing, more pieces, hoping to give way more opportunities to psychology students to really showcase all of the great research they are doing. One thing I really wanted as a goal for FashionPsychology.com is to break down the barriers of research and of academia. I feel like a lot of the research can be really stuck in a specific area of the internet where you don't have access to if you're a student, or if you don't have the money, or if you don't understand the jargon. So I really wanted to kind of democratize all of the fashion psychology research that's out there, because there is a lot out there. So I'm working on just continuing writing and showcasing it, so everybody can understand how the two really do interact.
Right. Amazing. Thank you so much. See, 30 minutes gone like that. Thank you again, Shakaila, for spending this time with us today.
Thank you so much, Hilary, for having me. Like, I love Fashion Bytes, what you guys are doing. I think it's so great. So yeah, it's really a pleasure to have me on. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Join us again next week. We'll be chatting with Alison Lowe, MBE, about the do's and don'ts of your fashion business. Until then, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.